Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. At 11:15 this morning, the president will meet with the Prime Minister of Japan, Sanae Takahashi. That will be in the Oval Office. Like the other day, we were able to see two leaders sitting there receiving those questions, answering those questions. So we'll have that back and forth in just a little bit from now. In the meantime, this, as today is day 3 of the debating of the Save America Act on the Senate floor. And in our Make It Make Sense segment, the United States Senate is debating whether or not United States citizens should be the only people allowed to vote in United States elections. Make it make sense. Let's listen to that again. The United States Senate is debating whether or not United States citizens should be the only people allowed to vote in United States elections. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're seeing unfold right now. We've talked about the fact that they're debating the saving of America. Why are we debating that? The common sense is to have a photo ID and to have proof of citizenship in our elections. This is not something that is new. This is something that's been happening throughout the world. A number of other countries, you have to have a photo ID, you have to prove that you're a citizen of the country, or you can't vote. But in our country, for some reason, I wonder what the reason is, they want you not to have that proof of citizenship or that photo ID when you vote in federal elections. What is that? Well, we know who's on the right side of history and who's not. It's pretty clear those that are saying we have to pass the Save America Act are on the right side of history. It's pretty nice to see it that clearly now. And we've seen it in other ways too, but this one's a pretty big one that we're seeing as we enter day 3 of this debate. And this is as the Utah Senator Mike Lee is calling on Senate Republicans to keep the Save America Act on the floor until it secures enough support to pass. Also, as we mentioned yesterday on X, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville posted the following. He said, quote, "Until we force the talking filibuster or nuke it all together, the Save America Act is dead in the water. It makes zero sense why Democrats and weak-kneed rhinos are on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. It's time we pass the Save America Act and secure our elections." And before we get into a number of elected people in office who are sounding the alarm to pass the act, we're going to go to Florida here as soon as we see that John Strand will be joining us, running for Congress in Florida. We'll talk to him about his thoughts on the Save America Act. And as we await that live interview, let's look at this monumental push on Capitol Hill for the Save America Act to be passed by the United States Senate in clip 2.
We certainly want to make elections safe and secure. Number one, because we want to make sure that the will of the voters is actually recognized and respected. But think about this. We've got, I don't know how many people, a lot of people in this room. Let's say for every single person here, an illegal alien shows up and votes in a Michigan election. That isn't just fraudulent, and that isn't just illegal, that steals your right to vote away from you, because then your vote counts for less. If you believe, as I do, that the American people are sovereign in their own country, then you have to believe that their vote should be protected, and the only way to fully protect their vote is to prevent fraudsters from coming and voting in American elections.
When the overwhelming majority of Americans, regardless of your political party, want to ensure that only Americans are voting in American elections, there is something wrong when that vote can't get passed. And it is being stonewalled and stymied by every member of the Democratic Party. The very people that the Democrats claim that a bill like this will harm are the very people that are demanding it be passed. From Black Americans to Hispanic Americans, the overwhelming majority demand that it be passed.
Meanwhile, Americans overwhelmingly, like between 80 and 85% of them across this great country, believe that basic protections like voter ID are necessary, that they are common sense. It's only in Washington, D.C., it's only in the halls of Congress that Democrats find this controversial. That is not acceptable. We do have some vulnerabilities, and the security and the perception of the security of our elections is something that matters. Let's make it easy to vote and hard to cheat.
You've got a situation where the vast majority of Americans support voter integrity. They support what we're trying to accomplish with the SAVE Act, and that's very simple, that you should be a United States citizen in order to be able to exercise the precious right to vote. You should be able to prove you are who you say you are when you go to the poll. This is something that 80% of Americans writ large support, over 90% of Republicans, and 71% of Democrats support this as well. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that 47 Democrat United States senators oppose what 71% of Democrats and what over 80% of Americans favor?
The Democrats claim this bill targets Democrat voters. That's a lie. The most revealing one of all, this bill targets only fraudulent and illegal voters, non-citizens who have no right to our ballot, and cheaters who refuse even the most basic safeguards of lawful voting. If my Democrat colleagues want to stand here and suggest that requiring citizenship and voter ID somehow threatens their political coalition, they're free to make that argument. But maybe you're protesting just a little bit too much.
There are two fundamental common sense reasons why 80% of the Americans support the policies of this legislation. Number one, only U.S. citizens are eligible to vote in our elections. So this bill simply requires Americans to show proof of citizenship when they register to vote. Number two, it requires a photo ID when voting. Election integrity is sacred to our system of self-government. Losing public trust in the outcome of elections would be a death knell for our fragile American experiment.
This is another area where we are watching the Democrats come full display of their loyalty to illegal aliens that are in this country. I mean, they are on it. Give them a choice between protecting the rule of law and protecting U.S. citizens. They're going to choose somebody illegally in the country every single time. That is really a disappointment to me, because the Save America Act is something that 83% of the voters in this country support. 83%. These are not my numbers. These are numbers from public polls. Anyone can go and look these up. Now, it is common sense that you are going to show a photo ID many times a day to prove that you are who you are. And it is common sense that everyone should show a photo ID when they go to the ballot box to cast that vote. Indeed, they should be a citizen and prove they're a citizen if they're going to register to vote, thereby protecting one person, one vote, protecting the integrity of our election system. This is a way that we help ensure that we preserve this system. You know, in Tennessee, where I reside, my state, my wonderful state, is ranked number one when it comes to election integrity. We make certain that our voter rolls are cleaned up. We make certain that voter ID is enforced. We have accurate registration lists and verification of citizenship. All common sense. If you're going to cast a ballot in our elections, be a citizen. Let's prove that you are the person showing up to cast that vote, and be respectful of the situation.
All right, so you heard there from Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, that monumental push that we're seeing to pass this Save America Act. And again, The United States Senate is debating whether or not United States citizens should be the only people allowed to vote in United States elections. Make it make sense. Hopefully this thing passes. We're going to go to John Strand in Florida in just a minute. Before we do, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate as we continue to grow and expand here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN, a ton of great products, as you guys know, on that website. More than 2,000 products to choose from. There's the Mega 2.0 sale, Mega Sale 2.0 going on, and plus free shipping. So great products, great person in Mike Lindell, great company, a lot of wins there. So if you'd like to purchase some products that maybe you haven't purchased yet from MyPillow, you can do that right there at mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, and before we go back to more of the elected officials, sounding the alarm to pass the Save America Act, let's go to Florida to speak with a patriot who's running for Congress there to get the job done for the people. John Strand joins us once again. Thanks, John, for joining us.
Absolutely, Matthew. Always great to be with you.
Same. I'm glad you're here with us here on Right Side. Now, can you give us your thoughts out of the gate, Save America Act, and the fact that this is even up for debate?
Yeah, the fact that it is up for debate is itself very concerning and very enlightening. I think this is the critical moment of our entire country right now. I've been saying that 2026 is our generation's 1776. This isn't just the midterms, it's the final countdown to decide if we're going to engage in our government. And what is more important than engaging to force the correct vote, that we must secure our elections. It is insane, but that's where we're at. We have to deal with it. So what I would tell people is this: the very premise of our republic is government by consent of the governed through legitimate, secure elections, right? Not Washington insiders using technicalities to protect the status quo forever. So I really think Americans are sick and tired of the fraud and corruption, and we're sick and tired of the excuses. So this is what I would say, Matthew, to Senate Leader John Thune. Stop calling it the nuclear option. It's the necessary option, and it's no longer optional. Securing our elections is non-negotiable. It's existential to save our republic by restoring faith in the democratic process.
Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama was on the broadcast earlier in the week, actually last week, and said the same thing. We know President Trump is for nuking the filibuster. I like how you said it, the necessary option. And
right.
Also, if the Democrats were to get back into power, think about it. The majority of the country is on the right side of history. President Trump won 3 elections in a row. We know what happened in 2020. So
sure.
if somehow the Democrats do get back in, though, whether it's in the executive branch, in the legislative branch, that kind of thing, won't they just nuke filibusters all day long? Because today is a different day than it was 5 years ago, John.
That's right. And of course they will. They've openly said that. So there's no question here, really. And that's why I made the point. I think it's interesting that they're calling it the nuclear option. Think about that. Nuclear. That just sounds bad. It sounds dangerous. So the very energy of the words they're using are designed to make people scared. And we need to understand what this actually means. When they say nuclear option, it simply means changing the Senate rules. Those are their own rules that they've decided for whatever reason they've decided. That's not in the Constitution. It's not enshrined in anything that we must protect or defend. What we must protect and defend are legitimate elections. We don't have a republic without them. So it's not a nuclear option. It is a necessary option, and it's no longer optional. It is necessary to change the internal rules of the Senate in order to pass this obvious legislation that over 80% of all Americans support, not just Republicans. The whole country is saying, yeah, we can't actually have a functional republic, and we cannot have trust in the system and buy in together as Americans, left to right or anywhere in the middle, unless we all believe that this is legitimate and fair. That's what the Save America Act is about. It must pass hard stop, no excuses. We're tired of the excuses. Deliver for the American people.
And that's exactly what the American people are saying. They resonate with you, with what you just said there. I know I do. And also, the other countries out there, they all have this already in place when it comes to voting, the proof of citizenship or the several layers. You can't just walk into a precinct and vote, which unfortunately, that's happened here in this country. And now that we have an influx of millions of illegal aliens, which we're still working on the mass deportation operation, but still there's a lot at stake for the midterms, as you know. Wanted to say one other thing. In 2013 and in 2017, they actually nuked the filibuster for 2 nominations in those 2 years. They did not use it in any legislative process at all in the sense of bills, passing bills and that kind of thing. So this would be a first, but it's not like they haven't done this before. So hopefully we see that. But let's shift gears to your campaign in Florida, as we're exactly 5 months from the Florida primary. So how are things going in Florida for you?
They're going great, Matthew. Thank you for asking. It is incredibly pivotal moment in our nation's history. Like I mentioned, that goes for the entire country. But of course, Florida is the free state in the union, really leading the nation and setting the example. We're going to continue to do that here in Florida. So I urge patriots, no matter what state you're in, remember, every vote in Congress affects you the same as every other vote. This is a particular race and district where you can make an incredible impact. johnstrand.com. Join the fight there today. We desperately need every American patriot to get in the race now, because we are not funded by the establishment. Our mission is to dismantle the establishment and return power and your tax dollars back to you. Like you said, Matthew, people are waltzing into this country, voting illegally, taking away hard-earned tax dollars, consuming welfare resources. The list goes on and on. Fraud, waste, and abuse that's just, it's overwhelming us, and we're sick and tired of it. You should be sick and tired of it, and you should actually have leaders that represent you and fight for you. So that's my promise to the American people. Everyone hearing the sound of this voice, I will fight for you. I didn't sell out to save my own skin with a false plea deal on January 6th. I continue to defend the principles of this republic, fight against weaponized government. We beat them at the Supreme Court. Now we have a chance to put a proven patriot in Congress, but we need you to go to johnstrand.com. Get in the fight. We need you to donate $26 to save 2026. That's all it takes, one patriot at a time. Let's get it done.
And let's get it done, because also we have to understand that the primary elections are just as important, in my opinion, as the midterms, because we have to get the right people to even go into the midterms. So we have to keep that going and keep that messaging out there, because it's true. John Strand, out of Florida, running for Congress. Sir, thank you again. You're a patriot. Always great to have you here on Right Side.
It's my honor, and continue to fight for these great United States of America. We can and we will win.
Amen. John Strand joining us live. Thanks again, John. All right, so it is 10:48, Thursday, March 19th. You know, this isn't just playing TV here, to be honest with you guys. You know, a lot of times we see maybe in some other outlets, and we're not talking about the true conservative outlets, but just other mainstream outlets and other just things that we see out there. We don't play TV here. This is really about not really only Republican versus Democrat stuff. It's not really that. To be honest, it's about God, family, country, and freedom. And what will the common sense legislation be? What will be the common sense candidate be, or the winner of elections? Who would that be? Those are people that we're looking to keep and restore the freedoms that we have in this country. It's very, very simple stuff. It's not complicated. That's why we call it common sense. Anyway, let's get to some of our sponsors as we bring in some more live interviews later, and also some social media videos that we're seeing throughout the internets, or interwebs as they call it. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Most people don't think about their medications until they actually need them. Someone gets sick, the pharmacy's closed, the doctor's office is booked out, and suddenly you're scrambling just to get basic prescriptions. Well, there's a better way to handle all of that. All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans take control of their health care by making it simple to get the medications families rely on every day. So, first step, you go online, you choose the medications that you're looking for, and then you complete a short medical form. From there, a licensed doctor reviews your request and, if appropriate, writes the prescription. Then your order ships directly to your door. And it's not just things like ivermectin, which is still a great medication. I'm not a doctor, but you'll have to check that out for yourself. But ivermectin, mebendazole, they also offer more than 400 prescription medications, including antibiotics, antivirals, NAD+, and everyday maintenance medications that millions of Americans rely on, such as treatments for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, infections, and more. So no more of the long pharmacy lines, no complicated insurance process, just a simpler way to get the medications your family may need. So if you believe in being prepared and having access to the medications you trust, this is the pharmacy for you. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Get 10% off your order today. RSBN10 is that promo code. Let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Of course, you see one of the major products there on the right side of your screen there. It's the flagship product, the Miracle Cream, but there's also some mists that you can try and also a number of different scents of the Miracle Cream. So just go to angelpaste.com, check it out. Out of Spring, Texas, of course. Great Patriots over there. 10% off with that RSBN10 RSBN promo code, and you'll get that 10% off. Another great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so the partial government shutdown has entered its second month. So we're into day 33, 34 right now. While many Republicans on Capitol Hill are trying to get DHS fully funded once again, let's go to clip 3.
It has now been 26 days since Homeland Security has been funded, and 51 days since the Democrats have announced their intention not to fund the Department of Homeland Security. The Democrats want the Department of Homeland Security to be closed. How do I know that they want it to be closed? Well, it's because the Democrats are refusing even to talk to Republicans about what sort of deal we may be able to do to get the funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Just this past weekend, my freshman colleague from Alabama, who sits on the Appropriations Committee and has the subcommittee that oversees the Department of Homeland Security, offered the ranking Democrat on appropriations a meeting with our Republican leader, a meeting with the Appropriations Chair, the esteemed Senator from Maine, and the White House. And the ranking Democrat refused to even meet, much less negotiate. Republicans want the Department of Homeland Security open. Democrats want to keep it shut down. Democrats are playing politics with our national security and the safety of Americans and people in my home state of Nebraska.
In any airport in the country right now, if you go and look, you will find hours, backups of 4 and 5 hours. You'll find TSA agents. You alluded to this earlier, Senator. Over 10% of TSA agents now are not able to come to the job. Why? Because they make on average $45,000 a year. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford to buy groceries for their kids. They've missed now 2 paychecks. This is endangering the security of our flyers. It's endangering the security of our airports. This is a terrible time for DHS to be shut down. Here's my point. Whether we're talking about children who are missing, whether we're talking about the situation against our law enforcement officers, whether we're talking about the dangers to the homeland, we are involved in a major conflict overseas. This nation's homeland needs to be secured, and yet my friends across the aisle have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They have defunded every agency we just talked about, and I just want to ask them, how long is it going to take? How long are these children going to have to wait in exploitation? How many more are going to have to go missing? How many TSA agents are going to be able to afford to put food on the table for their children? How long are the people of St. Louis and Southeast Missouri going to have to wait to get back into their homes before we can finally have a vote to reopen the Department of Homeland Security? It is long past time. I welcome your nomination. You're going to be a terrific leader of Homeland Security. I can't wait to see you there. But it's time for this Congress to do its job and fund DHS and protect the homeland of the United States of America.
All right, so Senator Josh Hawley recently talking about Markwayne Mullin as well, who is now officially been confirmed by the United States Senate. I believe it now goes to the Senate for that final vote, and then Markwayne Mullin will be the next DHS secretary. All right, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post recently about freeing Tina Peters. As you see there, a 73-year-old woman with cancer given a 9-year death sentence in a Colorado prison by a Democrat governor, Jared Polis. and a corrupt political machine for exposing fraud by the Democrats during the 2020 presidential election. Again, free Tina. And if you've been watching our coverage, the governor of Colorado just about a week ago was saying he was starting to look at some options there possibly when it comes to Tina Peters. He brought up information about Tina's case. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple weeks. But there you go, the post from President Trump, all about freeing Tina Peters. Also, the president posted a video about the White House over the years. Let's take a look at that. Clip 4A. All right, so there's supposed to be some audio with that, but that's all right. That's a video that the president posted a little bit before. So why don't we do this? I want to play it again because it's a cool video. So let's go with the audio on this one, clip 4A from President Trump. All right, so that from President Trump just the other day, just monitoring obviously the Truth Social post, the 24/7 news cycle, a lot of topics, a lot of news to get to, which we will get to here in just a minute. Let's go to some of our sponsors before we do, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. So you see there, something that you can do actually right now on your phone if you'd like. You just simply go to Kalshi.com/RSBN and you're going to see a number of the trending stories that are happening right now. Also, you'll see how long will the government shutdown last? At least 60 days. People are saying 56% are saying that. At least 70 days, 44% are saying that. Specifically, you're talking tariffs and stimulus checks and all sorts of topics on there with Kalshi.com/RSBN. So you can check it out too if you'd like. It's betting, it's trading, it's checking out the polls. A lot of people on this site, more than 1 million people. So great to see Kalshi as one of our sponsors here on Right Side, including Rumble Wallet. Rumble Wallet, you may have seen those conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back and it's happening everywhere, unfortunately. Platforms controlling the narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. So we could fight back in that information and financial area because Rumble is one of the only companies that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. So what we can do is go to wallet.rumble.com. You could download Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. So it's wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in the app stores. All right, it's now 10:59, approaching the top of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, getting ready to see the President of the United States and the leader of Japan, the Prime Minister of Japan. That'll be happening here in the next 15 minutes or so. Joining us now is White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson. Thanks again for joining us, Abigail.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, so let's talk about some of the things we talked about last time you were on, including the DHS situation. Now it's growing into something that's really, really bad out there with TSA, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, since we last chatted, the Democrats haven't really shown much of a willingness to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. And you're right, the situation keeps getting worse and worse. It's getting worse for the Americans who need to fly and are relying on airports and have to wait in exorbitantly long security lines. But it's also getting very, very bad for the hardworking TSA agents who have now missed a full paycheck. Officers are struggling to pay for basic needs, food, gas. They're struggling to feed their family. The TSA call-out rate is about 5 times higher than it typically is, which is putting a strain on our airports. And well over 300 TSA officers have now outright quit because they need to go find another job where they can get paid.
That's so wild. It's wild to see places like Philadelphia or Houston. I mean, those are 2 major hubs. And we're having lines that are 90 plus minutes. People are they're waiting outside. It's actually becoming a safety issue, it seems, because the people aren't even waiting inside the terminals. So let's go back to why this even started. It sounds like the Democrats, they had this laundry list of demands that were just outright ridiculous about DHS and all of that. Your thoughts about, just the fact that the Democrats are to blame for this? I mean, the mainstream media is just not putting the blame where it needs to be.
Absolutely. This was 110% a Democrat-driven decision and shutdown. And the Trump administration has worked in good faith to try and have conversations with Democrats. We've said, fine, you've shut down the Department of Homeland Security. Let's talk. Let's see if we can find common ground on any of these demands. And every time we have made any sort of offer to the Democrats, they have just outright rejected it. They're not coming from a place of good faith with these negotiations. They're pandering to the furthest left of their base, and Americans are being hurt because of this. And the worst part is Democrats know they are hurting American people. There was a Democrat representative who was on the record the other day who said, we are hurting people. They know, they seemingly don't care. But what I can tell you is the Trump administration and the president cares deeply for the American people who are being harmed by this. I'm thinking of some of the stories I've seen in the news lately. A father of 3 who's a TSA officer is considering quitting his job because he's missed a paycheck. He's facing eviction because he can't make his mortgage payment. He shared with the press that the last Democrat shutdown, he lost his car because he missed payments and he couldn't afford to fix the transmission on his car. There's another father out of Salt Lake City who was a TSA officer for 9 years and was forced to quit because he was missing paychecks. So this shutdown, led by the Democrats, is going to have long-lasting consequences on innocent Americans who are forced to pay the price for their political games. And then outside of the economic hit there, the financial problems, we're talking about the Department of Homeland Security and the Transportation Security Administration. So this is not something that the Democrats should be messing with. The safety of America, that makes totally no sense. So let's also talk about something else that makes no sense, is the fact that there's this debate going on for saving America. I mean, the Save America Act is something that people are overwhelmingly saying, we want that thing to pass. The Save America Act is common sense. Huge majorities of the American people support it. So, of course, Democrats in Congress are opposing it. You're absolutely right. This is something that the vast majority of Americans support. And I would stress that it's not just Republican voters who support common sense proposals like voter ID, like ending mass mail-in ballots, like proving citizenship to register to vote. It's Democrat voters, too. So the Democrats in Congress and their decision to try and stop this legislation from passing is not just a slap in the face to Republicans, but it's a slap in the face to their own voters and all Americans who want safe and secure elections. And that's what we need to keep this republic going. We need to have the right people voting in the sense of our citizens of the United States of America. White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson, thank you so much again for joining us here on Right Side. Absolutely. Good to see you. You too. Thank you. All right, so great to hear from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue there when it comes to the Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson. Of course, we'll be hearing from President Trump and also the Prime Minister of Japan coming up at about 11:15 Eastern time, so we're a few minutes out from that.
In the meantime, a lot of different stories that we're tracking here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, we'll have an update for Operation Epic Fury. We'll also talk about the latest with Joe Kent and other stories that we're tracking here. But in the meantime, my name's Matthew Alvarez. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Let's go over some of the housekeeping here at the network when it comes to what you're about to see here live. So in just a few minutes, as soon as we see a live feed at the White House, the president will be meeting with Prime Minister Shinzo Takahashi of Japan. That'll happen in the Oval Office. There'll be the Q&A that we always hear from most of the fake news in there, some conservative media, thank God for that. This, as today is day 3 of debating the Save America Act on the Senate floor. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the United States Senate is debating whether or not United States citizens should be the only people allowed to vote in United States elections. Yep, that's pretty much what's happening. There's a debate going on to save America. Isn't that interesting? This is just an indirect way of messaging to get the job done for the Save America Act to pass. It's simple as that. That's what the people want. That's what I want. Think about it. There are Democrats that are saying they want this to happen. We're talking more of the everyday style Democrat from maybe back in the day, if there's still any of those left. But people are saying we want photo ID and proof of citizenship for those that vote in our elections. It's it is common sense. So again, make it make sense. You know, we're watching, we're monitoring as it's day 3 of that. Director, do we have a sponsor that we should go to? Okay, let's go to All Family Pharmacy, and we'll get back into it here in just a second. As you see on your screen there, allfamilypharmacy.com. Most people don't think about their medications until they actually need them. So someone gets sick, the pharmacy is closed, the doctor's office is booked out, and suddenly you're scrambling just to get basic prescriptions. And there's a better way to handle it. All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans take control of their health care by making it simple to get the medication families rely on every single day. So here's how it works. You go online, you choose the medications you're looking for, and complete a short medical form. And then a licensed doctor reviews your request and, if appropriate, writes the prescription. Then your order ships directly to your door. And it's not just ivermectin or mebendazole. They offer more than 400 prescription medications, including antibiotics, antivirals, NAD+, and everyday maintenance medications that millions of Americans rely on, such as treatments for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, infections, and more. So no more of the long pharmacy lines, no complicated insurance process. Just a simpler way to get medications your family may need. So if you believe in being prepared and having access to the medications you trust, this pharmacy has your back. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can save that 10% today by using the RSBN 10 promo code. Let's also go to Birch Gold Group, because back in 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. But at today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. Smart Americans are diversifying a portion of their savings into precious metals. And that's why you need to consider buying gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. Just text Trump to the number 989898 that you see there on your screen. They have that A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. There's no obligation once you do that, and you'll get that free info kit on gold. And they'll actually help you diversify with gold. So just text Trump to 989898 for more information. It's 11:10 Eastern Time. We are rocking and rolling right now. We're getting ready to see the President of the United States and also the Japanese Prime Minister, Sanae Takashi. That'll be happening here shortly. And what we'll be seeing as soon as we see that live video feed, I believe, because we've covered this a few times, will be simply the president on the right side of the screen and then the Japanese Prime Minister on the left side of the screen in front of the fireplace in the Oval Office. And we'll hear the opening statements and remarks from both leaders and then the Q&A back and forth. Of course, a lot of topics going on, a lot of stories going on in the 24/7 news cycle. We've been talking about pretty much every one of them here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Not afraid to do so because at the end of the day, we're covering what's going on out there in D.C. and throughout the country and in some cases throughout the world. Of course, speaking of that, this morning at the Pentagon, there was an update on Operation Epic Fury. So let's go to clip number 5 for that.
The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss or a forever war or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic Fury is different. It's laser focused. It's decisive. Our objectives, given directly from our America First president, remain exactly what they were on day one. These are not the media's objectives, not Iran's objectives, not new objectives, our objectives, unchanged, on target, and on plan. Destroy missiles, launchers, and Iran's defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild. Destroy their navy, and Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Our objectives from day one. To the patriotic members of the press, nobody can deliver perfection in wartime. This building knows that more than anyone. But report the reality. We're winning decisively and on our terms.
All right, so a clip from this morning at the Pentagon, the Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking about Operation Epic Fury. As we continue to cover the news that's happening out there, of course, this is a news program, right? As we, the word program is something that's more of an old school form of things, but it's a live stream broadcast, of course, covering political events. We're going to be seeing President Trump here in just a minute and going over the news headlines that we're tracking out there in this 24/7 news cycle. Let's also go to specifically earlier today on Capitol Hill. As the Senate continues to debate the Save America Act, Tulsi Gabbard testified on a global threat assessment against the United States. Let's go to clip 6.
The defense of our homeland is of the utmost importance to the American people. And efforts by this administration over the last year to bolster homeland defense have yielded significantly positive results. For example, the strict enforcement of U.S. policies at the U.S.-Mexico border and regionally have served as a deterrent and drastically reduced illegal immigration. Based on Customs and Border Patrol data, January 2026's monthly encounters are down 83.8% compared to January of 2025. The drivers of migration are likely to continue. Potential worsening instability in countries like Cuba and Haiti risk triggering migration surges. Smugglers who often operate as transnational criminal organizations view chaos as an opportunity for profit and will likely continue to profit from these illegal immigration flows. These TCOs continue to pose a daily and direct threat to the health and safety of millions of U.S. citizens, primarily by producing and trafficking in illegal drugs. Under President Trump's leadership, fentanyl overdose deaths have seen a 30% decrease from September of 2024 to September of 2025. His aggressive efforts to more directly and actively target these transnational criminal organizations and reduce the inflow of fentanyl precursors has already had a significant impact, which is likely to continue. Mexico-based transnational criminal organizations like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel dominate the production and smuggling of fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine into the United States. Colombia-based TCOs and illegal armed groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia and the National Liberation Army are responsible for producing and trafficking large volumes of cocaine into the U.S. and European markets, with some indicators that they are now attempting to expand to the Asia-Pacific region. Colombia remains the world's largest producer of cocaine, and Colombian criminal groups have expanded their trafficking relationships with neighboring Ecuadorian and Brazilian gangs.
All right, so you can catch some of that live information, the live programming, of course, here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, wherever you're watching us, hopefully on Rumble, but also out there, various platforms, of course, watching us live. Thank you so much for doing so as we are live right now, 11:16, Thursday, March 19th. As soon as we see the live feed to the White House, we'll take you there for the president's meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister. Meantime, here are some of the other stories we're tracking within this rapidly changing 24/7 news cycle. According to Semaphore, there's been an ongoing FBI investigation into Joe Kent allegedly leaking documents. The FBI has opened a leak investigation into the former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent. Shelby Talcott of Semaphore reports. This report was echoed on Fox as well. So the investigation is focused on allegations that Kent improperly shared classified information. Breaking 911 highlighting the story as well, saying that Talcott, the Semaphore reporter, says 4 sources confirm that former U.S. counterterrorism chief Joe Kent is under FBI investigation for leaking. The investigation apparently predates his sudden resignation on Tuesday. Carolyn Levitt also spoke about this just yesterday to reporters as well, so we'll see where this story goes. This is as Joe Kent sat down with Tucker Carlson on the TCN network just yesterday. So again, just reporting what we're seeing out there happening as we continue our live coverage. Meantime, outside of any breaking news, here are a few notable events for this year. Of course, we've gone over this a few times, but there's still no date that has officially been announced for the president's trip to China, as President Xi Jinping of China and the President of the United States will be meeting sometime this year. We'll see when that happens. Of course, July 4th, 2026, our country turns 250 years young. Great to be an American. Aren't you glad to be in this country on the right side of history? And I'm speaking to those of you that are citizens of the United States of America. And yet to be officially announced, there will be a special RNC midterm convention sometime this year. Yet to be announced. Again, an RNC convention, just like during those presidential cycles. Well, this time during the midterms, haven't heard that that's off the table, so I'm going to keep talking about it until we see a date for this possible midterm convention, an RNC national convention. And speaking of the midterms, of course, November 3rd, 2026. And if you joined us earlier at the top of the show at about 10:35 Eastern time, John Strand of Florida, who's running for Congress there, joined us. And we talked about and highlighted the fact that the primaries are almost just as important as the midterm election, because you got to get the right person in for the various candidacies and roles that are out there and openings when it comes to the Senate, Congress, gubernatorial races. Of course, we know in Minnesota with, I was just going to say Governor Mike Lindell. Maybe that'll actually happen. That'll be great. Running for governor there. So the primaries are almost just as big as the midterm election, getting the right people in to vote on November 3rd. All right, let's do this. I'm going to check some headlines out there. My name is Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Good morning once again, and welcome back into RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. At 11:15, actually it's past that now, so sometime soon we'll see the president meeting with the Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi of Japan in the Oval Office, and then of course we'll be hearing some of the questions and answers and the back and forth there in front of the fireplace in the Oval Office. In the meantime, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Cove Pier. We're past all of that new year, new me stuff as we're, mid-March entering into April almost. I was speaking with my wife yesterday. I said, I cannot believe it's almost April already. But anyway, Cove Pier is a company that is talking about a number of things. Most people, they say, tend to go overboard buying new supplements, trying new diets and workouts, which is totally fine, but unfortunately completely ignoring the most important basic thing, water. Even mild dehydration impacts energy, focus, and metabolism. And when you think about all of the garbage that's in our water, you start behind the curve before you even begin, because Cove Pier changes that immediately. Their Clear Wave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants, pretty much anything that's not water. So the PFAs or the microplastics, the pharmaceutical residue, the fluoride, that all gets removed, and it's the purest water you can get. And one of my favorite things about this whole thing is there's no aftertaste. I don't like tap water. I don't know how many people really like tap water out there, but it's not the greatest tasting. And then on top of that, it's because of all that stuff that's in the water. So if you'd like to, instead of a big overhaul, make one small upgrade that adds up every single day, you can get clean water. And right now you can get $250 off for a limited time if you use our link that you see at the bottom of the screen, covepier.com/RSBN. Again, that's covepier.com/RSBN to take advantage of that discount today, as it's 10:23 Central Time, 11:23 on the East Coast. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy now, as we know a number of things about All Family Pharmacy, because we know that most people don't think about their medications until you actually need them. So if someone gets sick, or the pharmacy is closed, or the doctor's office is booked out, and suddenly then you're scrambling just to get basic prescriptions, there's just a better way to handle all that. And you can stock up with All Family Pharmacy, as they help Americans take control of their health care by making it simple to get the medications families rely on every day. So you go online, you choose the medications you're looking for, and complete a short medical form. A licensed doctor reviews your request, and if appropriate, writes the prescription from there. Then your order ships directly to your door. And it's not just things like ivermectin or mebendazole. They offer more than 400 prescription medications, including antibiotics, antivirals, NAD+, and everyday maintenance medications that millions of Americans rely on, such as treatments for blood pressure or cholesterol or diabetes, how about infections and more. No long pharmacy lines, no complicated insurance process, just a simpler way to get the medications your family may need. So if you believe in being prepared and having access to the medications you trust, this pharmacy has your back. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, and you can save 10% today by using that RSBN 10 promo code. as we are approaching slowly the bottom of the hour as we get ready to go to Washington to see the president and the Prime Minister of Japan, Sanae Takahashi. Again, this as today is day 3 of debating the Save America Act on the Senate floor. And as I started the broadcast, I want to re-up on it and say this is our Make It Make Sense segment by just saying the following. The United States Senate is debating whether or not United States citizens should be the only people allowed to vote in United States elections. I'm going to say it again, why not? Because really this is what it's about. We're trying to get this Save America Act passed. And I think that there should be people from all walks of life, all sides of the aisle, whatever you want to talk about, but to get the Save America Act passed, simply showing photo ID when you vote in federal elections and your proof of citizenship. And how about, and I talk about it, but I don't talk about it as much as the photo ID and the proof of citizenship, but it's very important. How about the mail-in ballots? No mail-in ballots unless it's for military or medical or if there's business travel, that kind of thing, you know? So there has to be common sense when it comes to our elections. And we know that various countries around the earth already implement all of these laws. So this needs to be the Save America law. So let's get that from an act to a law. And if you'd like to call your senator, go ahead. It's a free country, right? And they represent who? Themselves? No, they represent us, as you know. So let's get this thing done. All right, this is as the Utah Senator Mike Lee is calling on Senate Republicans to keep the Save America Act on the floor until it secures enough support to pass. Also, a post on X that I've been referring to a lot is from Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville posting the following. Until we force the talking filibuster or nuke it altogether, the Save America Act is dead in the water. Tuberville says it makes zero sense why Democrats and weak-kneed rhinos are on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. It's time we pass the Save America Act and secure our elections. So let's take a look at this monumental push on Capitol Hill for the Save America Act to be passed by the United States Senate. So we'll go to clip 2. This is as we await the president there at the White House.
Certainly we want to make elections safe and secure. Number one, because we want to make sure that the will of the voters is actually recognized and respected. But think about this. You know, we've got, I don't know how many people, a lot of people in this room. Let's say for every single person here, an illegal alien shows up and votes in a Michigan election. That isn't just fraudulent, and that isn't just illegal. That steals your right to vote away from you, because then your vote counts for less. If you believe, as I do, that the American people are sovereign in their own country, then you have to believe that their vote should be protected, and the only way to fully protect their vote is to prevent fraudsters from coming and voting in American elections.
When the overwhelming majority of Americans, regardless of your political party, want to ensure that only Americans are voting in American elections, there is something wrong when that vote can't get passed. And it is being stonewalled and stymied by every member of the Democratic Party. The very people that the Democrats claim that a bill like this will harm are the very people that are demanding it be passed. From Black Americans to Hispanic Americans, the overwhelming majority demand that it be passed.
Meanwhile, Americans overwhelmingly, like between 80 and 85% of them across this great country, believe that basic protections like voter ID are necessary, that they are common sense. It's only in Washington, D.C., it's only in the halls of Congress that Democrats find this controversial. That is not acceptable. We do have some vulnerabilities, and the security and the perception of the security of our elections is something that matters. Let's make it easy to vote and hard to cheat.
You've got a situation where the vast majority of Americans support voter integrity. They support what we're trying to accomplish with the SAVE Act, and that's very simple. That you should be a United States citizen in order to be able to exercise the precious right to vote. You should be able to prove you are who you say you are when you go to the poll. This is something that 80% of Americans writ large support, over 90% of Republicans, and 71% of Democrats support this as well. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that 47 Democrat United States senators oppose what 71% of Democrats and what over 80% of Americans favor.
The Democrats claim this bill targets Democrat voters. That's a lie. The most revealing one of all, this bill targets only fraudulent and illegal voters, non-citizens who have no right to our ballot, and cheaters who refuse even the most basic safeguards of lawful voting. If my Democrat colleagues want to stand here and suggest that requiring citizenship and voter ID somehow threatens their political coalition, they're free to make that argument. But maybe you're protesting just a little bit too much.
There are two fundamental common sense reasons why 80% of the Americans support the policies of this legislation. Number one, only U.S. citizens are eligible to vote in our elections. So this bill simply requires Americans to show proof of citizenship when they register to vote. Number two, it requires a photo ID when voting. Election integrity is sacred to our system of self-government. Losing public trust in the outcome of elections would be a death knell for our fragile American experiment.
This is another area where we are watching the Democrats come full display of their loyalty to illegal aliens that are in this country. I mean, they are on it. Give them a choice between protecting the rule of law and protecting U.S. citizens. They're going to choose somebody illegally in the country every single time. That is really a disappointment to me, because the Save America Act is something that 83% of the voters in this country support. 83%. These are not my numbers. These are numbers from public polls. Anyone can go and look these up. Now, it is common sense that you are going to show a photo ID many times a day to prove that you are who you are. And it is common sense that everyone should show a photo ID when they go to the ballot box to cast that vote. Indeed, they should be a citizen and prove they're a citizen if they're going to register to vote, thereby protecting one person, one vote, protecting the integrity of our election system. This is a way that we help ensure that we preserve this system. You know, in Tennessee, where I reside, my state, my wonderful state, is ranked #1 when it comes to election integrity. We make certain that our voter rolls are cleaned up. We make certain that voter ID is enforced. We have accurate registration lists and verification of citizenship. All common sense. If you're going to cast a ballot in our elections, be a citizen. Let's prove that you are the person showing up to cast that vote, and be respectful of the situation.
All right, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn speaking about the Save America Act, along with a whole host of people saying this thing needs to pass. And I think that not only are you seeing that on Capitol Hill, you saw that, of course, with Vice President Vance in Michigan just yesterday. You're seeing that throughout the country online, whether it's X or Truth Social or on Rumble or YouTube or wherever. People are saying that, including right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network with all of the various guests that we have interviewed. Today we interviewed John Strand, running for Congress, of course, in Florida. We also interviewed the White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson moments ago. So we are just seeing this hopeful passage of something that is not just a fancy kind of motto or term of Save America, the Save America Act. This is legitimately going to help save America by having photo ID and proof of citizenship at the ballot box. It's pretty simple stuff. It's common sense. And it would really tick off the Democrats that are really all about, hey, let's just bring in millions of people that are not from our country. And oh, by the way, some of them are going to commit crimes, other crimes. First of all, illegally entering is a crime. Then will you commit an actual, an assault, a rape, a murder, that kind of thing. And then on top of that, are you going to illegally vote too while you're at it? I mean, it's an awful thing that the Biden regime did to this country. That's why we've seen mass deportations. That's why we're seeing, hopefully, this Save America Act pass. So we only have, get this, newsflash, breaking news, United States citizens only voting in our elections across this great country. So that's really, again, this is all based on truth, by the way. This isn't really even just Republican, Democrat. There's no talking point situation when I'm speaking like this. It's just straight up the common sense information out there. Whatever supports freedom in a good, positive way, I'm for it when it comes to things like voting and praying hard and working hard and speaking about it, winning the information war for freedom for this United States of America. Because we see what it's like in some other countries out there. We don't want that here in our land. We just want the First and Second Amendment to always be part of that Constitution and part of the law of this country. And that's really what we're fighting for. So if you want to be a freedom fighter, that's one way to do it. Speak up, pray, work hard, vote. Just keep it on. Man, this is something, isn't it? All right, anyway, let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. There are a number of live trades, bets, and a number of people just checking out polls all over Kalshi.com, including if you just go to Kalshi.com right here, as I did on my phone, you can do the same thing or use the QR code. One of the questions on there that people are talking about is, when will the partial government shutdown, how long will it last? And there's various percentages of votes on that, which, again, that's all about the Department of Homeland Security, which is underneath that, the Transportation Security Administration. If you're watching this at an airport right now, there might be one person at least watching at an airport. Maybe there's thousands, who knows, or even on a replay later. Sorry that you're dealing with all of that stuff. This is definitely not on the right side of history. This is the people that are on the left side, the wrong side, causing this, because they wanted all of these long demands that were outrageous, the Democrats did. So they're holding and partially shutting down the government for that. On top of that, guys, I know there's a ton of stories going on out there, including out of Operation Epic Fury and a number of other stories here domestically, just juggling all of that. But this is as we stand by for the President of the United States and the Japanese Prime Minister, who we'll see here shortly. Let's also go to Rumble Wallet before we get back into it here. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back, and it's happening a lot of places out there. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. So we can fight back in the information and financial arena. Rumble is one of the only companies that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. So on one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. So banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. So that's why Rumble has launched Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel, and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us without any middleman taking the cuts. So with Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can control it. It's yours and only yours. Yours to protect your future and family. So you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is that real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with a click of a button. So there's no fees when you tip our channel or others out there. And we actually receive that tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. So you can support our show and other creators by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel. You can go to wallet.rumble.com You can download Rumble Wallet today. You can search Rumble Wallet in the app stores as well and step away from the big banks for good as you open an account with Rumble Wallet. All right, so it's 11:39, Thursday, March 19th. On the president's schedule, the White House schedule, it was slated for 11:15 for that White House Oval Office meeting between President Trump and the Japanese Prime Minister, of course, Sanae Takashi of Japan. So as soon as we see that feed, we'll take you there. In the meantime, let's do this. We saw a video out of southern Lebanon recently. So there's this RT Today reporter. So that's Russia Today. That's one of the outlets that are out there covering various stories, including in the Middle East. And there was, I believe, an Israeli airstrike that hit right there in southern Lebanon. Well, this is what it looked like for this reporter when the airstrike nearly hit him.
Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and a Fucking hell.
That'll get your attention. Holy smokes, did you see his eyes see that rocket towards southern Lebanon? Again, this was RT reporter, so it's Russia Today, an outlet out there, and they were in southern Lebanon when that airstrike literally came, 10 yards from the guy? And yes, we're going to play it again. I'm glad the guy's not hurt, but let's take a look at this again.
Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and a Fucking hell.
All right, so apologies if there was a little bit of an expletive there at the end. Just got to see just the first part of that video, but still, what kind of words would you be saying if that happened? Holy smokes, that was crazy. All right, so let's shift gears now. We're again waiting, as you see at the bottom of the screen, for the president's meeting with Sanae Takashi of Japan. So that's coming up here shortly. As of right now, if I'm looking at the live feed, I do see that the White House is now getting ready to be live. So that's about to happen. Any minute from now, we'll be sending it to you here on X and various other places as you guys are watching us, preferably on Rumble, of course, but also on a number of great platforms out there. Let's do this. As we await the President of the United States, let's go over President Trump's Truth Social statement about freeing Tina Peters just recently. He said, quote, "Free Tina Peters, a 73-year-old woman with cancer, given a 9-year death sentence in a Colorado prison by Democrat Governor Jared Polis, and a corrupt political machine for exposing fraud by the Democrats during the 2020 presidential election." The president says, again, free Tina. And that's something that we've talked about here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We've had attorney Peter Tickton on here as well, who is Tina's attorney, speaking about that specifically when it comes to freeing Tina Peters. We also reported on about 2 weeks ago the governor of Colorado actually looking like he's softening up on it because there was someone else that he knows in Colorado that had the same charges against that person, and they did not receive any jail time. So the same felony charges, I believe it was something along the lines of something with a political official or a public official passing documents, something like that. I have to double check those facts, but I do know that specifically there was someone that, and this is within Governor Polis's tweet, which is, it would take a second to find it right now on the fly, but we reported on it here, and we know that Polis is saying that he's going to be taking another look at the Tina Peters case. So will there be exoneration there? Will there be a freeing of Tina Peters, which is something that should totally happen, and something that we've interviewed a number of people about that specific topic. I think we have a real short video. It's just video 4A. I think we could squeeze this one in really quickly. This is from President Trump, and just showing the White House over the years as we await going to the White House. So that just posted on President Trump's Truth Social account last night. Also, the partial government shutdown has entered its second month, while many Republicans on Capitol Hill are trying to get DHS fully funded once again. We may go to clip 3 if this is delayed any longer, but I think we'll hang tight here live as the president may be appearing with the Japanese Prime Minister any second from now. As soon as we see that, again, what we'll see most likely are the two leaders in front of the fireplace there in the Oval Office, and we'll throw it there live, and we'll hear remarks from both leaders, and then we'll hear from the some of the fake news, and there's some conservative outlets there as well. Some of the questions, the back and forth. As you guys know, this is a rapidly changing 24/7 news cycle, a lot going on. So we're going to be monitoring a lot of the stories we've been talking about. Name the story. Most likely we've talked about it here at Right Side as we continue to just monitor what's going on in Washington, D.C., inside that beltway, outside that 495 beltway, and all throughout our country. And in some cases, of course, through Operation Epic Fury, covering various stories around the world. Speaking of around the world, awaiting the details on any possible trip to China for President Trump, as he will be visiting with Xi Jinping. But that's something that has been delayed because of the ongoing conflict, the ongoing operation, the ongoing, and if you want to call it a war. I'm not the wordsmith when it comes to which one it's going to be called. I don't even think that's the right way to call it all. But anyway, point is, there's a lot of news going on throughout our country and throughout the world. So we're going to be seeing the Japanese Prime Minister here any minute from now, and the President of the United States. That was scheduled for 11:15 Eastern. Obviously, it's 11:47, approaching the noon hour on the East Coast and 9 a.m. out there on the West Coast. Thanks so much for live streaming in here from coast to coast, and including, of course, the great people of the Central Time Zone, the Mountain Time Zone, and anywhere else you're watching outside of the continental 48, maybe Alaska, Hawaii, or anywhere else across the world. I know there's some people that watch in Europe. I know there's some people that watch in Australia and in Africa, Central America, South America. We've seen a lot of countries watching our RSBN over the years, and I remember seeing a number of people. How about from Sweden as well one time? So who knows? You never know who you're live in front of. So anyway, so we're going to go to the White House as of right now. Let's go there.
Great to have you. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to have you, and we have a very special person, just won a tremendous election in a record-setting fashion, so you have something in common. And I was very proud and honored to endorse the Prime Minister because of the fact that I felt she was really good. I thought she did a fantastic job. I respect her a lot, so I gave her an endorsement. And she had the most successful election, in my opinion, in the history of Japan, won by the most ever. So we have a very popular, powerful woman, and she's a great woman. We have a very fine relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and
many other things. And it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
皆様ありがとうございます。本日は非常に特別な方にいらしていただいております。歴史的な選挙の圧勝ということで、私と共通するものがあると思います。私たち素晴らしい絆を持っておりまして、だからこそ私の方からも応援のメッセージを出させていただきました。素晴らしい人であり、私も心から尊敬している方です。日本の歴史上最も素晴らしい選挙で圧勝したということで、人気の高い女性であり、すごい方だと私も思っております。本日に関しては貿易その他の課題について多く話をする予定です。
Thank you for inviting me to the White House today.
Thank you.
My visit is timely. So, given the current situation.
Oh, please, yes,
okay.
absolutely. You have a very good interpreter.
Yeah.
Who I've known for a long time with Shinzo.
今中東情勢も含めて、それから世界中の安全保障環境が非常に厳しい状況にあります。
Right now, situations in the Middle East and also the entire world, we are actually experiencing a very severe security environment.
そして世界経済もかなり厳しい影響を受けつつあります。
And also the global economy is now about to experience a huge hit because of this development.
でも私は、世界の、繁栄とそして、平和に、貢献できる、世界中に、平和と繁栄をもたらせるのはドナルドだけだと思っています。
But even against that backdrop, I firmly believe that it is only you, Donald, who can achieve peace across the world.
そのために私は、諸外国に働きかけて、しっかりと応援をしたいと思っています。
And to do so, I am ready to reach out to many of the partners in the international community to achieve our objective together.
今日私はそれを伝えに来ました。
So today I came here at the White House to directly convey this message to you.
そしてイランに関してはもう核兵器の開発、これは許されてはならないことですから日本も働きかけをしてきました。
And speaking of the situation in Iran, Iran's development of nuclear weapons must never be allowed. And that is why we, Japan, have been urging them and also reaching out to other partners in the world.
そして我が国は周辺国に対する攻撃、ホルムズ海峡の実質的な閉鎖についてもこれは非難をし、そして茂木外務大臣からもイランの外務大臣に対してもうそれをやめるように申し入れをしてきました。
In addition, Japan condemns Iran's actions such as attacking the neighboring region and also the de facto or effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. As a matter of fact, my fellow minister, Minister Motegi, Foreign Minister Motegi, also had the direct exchange with the Iranian foreign minister and urged Iran to stop such activities.
Yeah, you let me know. You can let me know.
それでとにかく今中東だけじゃなくてインド太平洋の安全保障環境も大変厳しい中にあります。そんな中でドナルドが日本に深い信頼を寄せてくれて揺るぎない同盟にコミットメントしてくれていることに感謝をいたしております。
And also the security environment in the Indo-Pacific region is also becoming increasingly severe. Donald, you have shown deep trust in Japan and also the unwavering commitment to the Japan-US alliance. Once again, thank you very much for that.
今日は日本とアメリカが共に強く豊かになっていくための話し合いをしたいと思っています。
And today, I look forward to having a discussion on how we can cooperate to make our two nations, both Japan and the United States, stronger and more prosperous.
それから世界のエネルギーマーケットを落ち着かせるための提案も、持ってまいりました。
And I also brought specific proposals to calm down the global energy market.
でこの後、主に、経済安全保障、重要鉱物ですが、エネルギーに関する協力、そしてお互いに強い経済を作るための、成長のための話し合い、経済成長のための話し合いをしたいと思っています。Thank you very much.
So today, I really look forward to having our discussion, particularly focusing on our collaboration in economic security in the important areas such as energy and rare earth minerals. And also, I look forward to discussing with you how we can make our two economies stronger moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and you're doing a great job. Again, congratulations on the biggest win in the history of Japan. That's not bad. That's a pretty long history. That's a large nation with with a great reputation, but it's a tremendous victory. Congratulations to everybody. Very proud of you. Very proud of you. We've become friends, and I'm very proud of the job you've done. It's not easy. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, are you fully satisfied with the level of support that you're getting from Japan on Iran, including around minesweepers?
Well, we're going to be speaking about it today. Go ahead, you can go.
日本から、機雷艇などの支援に関して、その点について今の状況に満足していらっしゃいますか？
We're going to be speaking about it today. We've had tremendous support and relationship with Japan on everything, and I believe that based on statements that were given to us yesterday, the day before yesterday, having to do with Japan, they are really stepping up to the plate. Yes.
非常に日本様から素晴らしい支援も受けていると思います。おとといの、コメントから、日本からはそれに対して非常に力強いメッセージを得ていると私は思っています。
Unlike NATO.
NATO とは全く違いますね。
Please.
Mr. President, do you intend to lift sanctions on Iranian oil, and do you intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region?
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. But I'm not putting troops, and we will do whatever is necessary to keep the price as low. I actually thought when I did this, look, the Dow just hit 50,000 a couple of weeks ago. They said that couldn't happen for 4 years. It wouldn't happen in my term. It's such an outrageous thing because I said it would happen. I didn't know it was going to happen that fast, but it just hit 50,000, and we did that in 1 year, not 4. S&P had just hit 7,000. They said that was even more impossible than the Dow hitting 50, and we did that in 1 year. So it's all done. Everything was going great. The economy was great. Oil prices were very low. Gasoline was dropping to, we had $1.99, $1.85. We had great everything. And I saw what was happening in Iran, and I said, I hate to make this excursion, but we're going to have to do it. And I actually thought the numbers would be worse. I thought that it would go up more than it did. But we're doing this excursion, and when it's completed, we're going to have a much safer world. And the Prime Minister agrees with me on this. He considers it to be terrible what Iran did. I think every country does, just about every country does. Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, if we do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon. We've obliterated the Navy. We've obliterated just about everything there is to obliterate, including leadership. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft equipment is gone. We're flying wherever we want, Pete. We have nobody even shooting at us. They have, and as you know, their leadership is gone. Their leaders are gone. They pick new leaders, they're gone. They pick new leaders, they're gone. And now they're looking for new leaders again. We can take out the island anytime we want. I call it the little oil island that sits there, so totally unprotected. We've taken out everything but the pipes. We left the pipes because to rebuild the pipes would take years for them to do. But we are, I would say, we are substantially ahead of schedule. And I had to do this. I call it an excursion. I had to take this little excursion and do something that no other president had the courage to do. And everybody wanted to do it, but they never had the courage to do it. And I don't blame them. I'm not blaming them. It was left to me, and we've done a great job. Our military is incredible. We have an incredible military. We have the strongest military in the world by far. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. In fact, Japan buys our equipment, buys a lot of it, and we're honored by that. And that's one of the things we'll be talking. They want to buy a lot of the military equipment. So it's just an honor to have the Prime Minister. We've had a tremendous relationship. Okay.
Mr. President.
I think she's going to have to go first before you. Is that okay? Do you understand? It's very good, I tell you. I mean, it's so nice that we don't have to sit. No, it's very good. I haven't picked up your language, so the next time you come, I'll have your language mastered. All right, go ahead.
If the war is almost over, why is the Pentagon going to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion?
Well, we're asking for a lot of reasons beyond even what we're talking about in Iran. This is a very volatile world, and the military equipment, the power of some of this weaponry is unthinkable. You don't even want to know about it. Oh, you could end this thing in 2 seconds if you wanted to, but we are being very judicious. What we want to do, don't forget, Biden gave away, I rebuilt the military my first term. Biden gave away so stupidly to Afghanistan a lot. He didn't want to move it. He was too lazy, too stupid to move it. But it was a very small amount. It was a lot, but it was very small relative to what I purchased and what I built. We want to have vast amounts of ammunition, which we have right now. We have a lot of ammunition, but it was taken down by giving so much to Ukraine. They gave so much. Biden gave $350 billion worth of cash and military equipment to Ukraine, and he didn't rebuild anything. Fortunately, we have a lot. We have a tremendous, unlimited supply of what you'd call middle and upper middle armaments and military equipment, munitions, armaments, but munitions in particular. At the high end, we have a lot, but we're preserving it. We don't really need it, but we're building. Our manufacturers of military equipment are building at a level they've never seen before. They've never done before. Pete's in charge of it with all of us, really. But Pete's been very, very strong on it. The general and Pete, myself, the whole group. And Raytheon is building 4 factories. Lockheed is building 5 or 6 factories, and they're building them fast. Because we had a very tough meeting with them. They were going out and buying back stock for $51 billion in one case. They spent $51 billion buying back stock. Now they're not allowed to do that. And they are now building a tremendous, there's never been anything like it, what's taking place right now. So we're in very good shape, but we want to be in the best shape we've ever been in. We were that, when I rebuilt the military, we were in great shape, and then Biden blew it, and he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And if you listen to the Democrats, they don't even want to have a military. Now you see how important it is. But we have the strongest military in the world. We have the best equipment. We make by far the best equipment. The other night, they had 114 rockets shot at a certain location. And out of 100 highly sophisticated rockets, out of 114 sophisticated rockets, every single one of them was shot down with our equipment. All our equipment. It's amazing, actually, how good it is. So we want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top.
Mr. President,
can I ask about the Treasury? Thank you, Mr. President. The Treasury Secretary this morning said there were defections among Iranian leadership. Are you aware of that, and is there anybody the U.S. can work with as a leader going forward?
Well, we have a man named the Treasury Secretary here, so maybe he wants to discuss it. Does anybody know? Do you know who he is? Central Casting.
Yeah, so we are seeing the defections at all levels as they're started
are starting to sense what's going on with the regime. It doesn't get reported here in the U.S. very well, but we are trouncing them from the air, and the regime will probably collapse within itself. At Treasury, we've seen where they've wired their money out of the country. We're coming for that. We're going to get it back to the Iranian people.
And are you seeing defections?
Yes, sir.
On Israel,
There's a lot of military defections also. You have a lot of military defections in Iran. I don't blame them.
Thank you, Mr. President. Have you talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields?
Yeah, I did. I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do. We're independent. We get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
And the last one, if I could, the Fed chairman told me yesterday that he plans to stay until a new Fed chairman is confirmed, and he also plans to stay on the board until the investigation into the Federal Reserve is done.
Well, he's under investigation because he's building a building for hundreds of billions of dollars more than it's supposed to cost. The building you see over there is under budget and ahead of schedule. That's the ballroom. The ballroom is a much bigger building. It's a much more complex building than what he's doing, and it's at a fraction of the cost. Something is going on, whether it's contractors. That's what I do best in the world. I build great buildings. I've always done it, and I build them under budget and ahead of schedule. They could have $4 billion. This is a renovation job for $4 billion. And if you look at the building, it's not even, I don't know if Kevin Warsh is ever going to be able to move into it. It's been under construction for years. It's the most expensive building ever built. Now, I know it's grossly incompetent because I happen to think he's grossly incompetent. Today, certainly you should be lowering interest rates, all right? Certainly, who would not lower them? But he's stubborn, and he's got Trump derangement syndrome. But a lot of people have that, it's not a curable disease. But he's also building, he should be lowering rates immediately. But he won't do that because he's a stubborn, incompetent person. And that's a bad thing. When you're stubborn and incompetent, I think it's the worst combination. And he's also not a smart person. But he's building a complex over there that's under his jurisdiction. He started it, and it's out of control. It's billions of dollars for a little building. I could have done that building and made it beautiful for $25 million. $25 million, and it would have been beautiful. Look what I've done at the White House, fixing it up, and the place was in bad shape. You see the floors and everything. It was in bad shape. I could have made that building beautiful for $25 million. They're spending $4 billion. All right, so it's there is criminality. Maybe it's with the contractor, but because I know more about contractors than any human being maybe that's ever lived. But that contractor is a very rich man. Whoever the contractor is, and we know, but whoever the contractor is an extremely rich man. He's going to make, he could make billions of dollars. I'm hearing numbers from $3 to $4 billion. That would make it the most expensive building on a square foot basis ever built in history. And you're not even building a building, it's a renovation. The exterior skin is staying, the steel is staying, the structure. So all I want to do is bring out to the public that this guy is an incompetent, he's a very incompetent guy, and he may be a dishonest guy, but somebody's dishonest because there's no way that building could be $3 to $4 billion.
Mr. President, on a street of President.
Thank you.
Please.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan.
This looks like one of your people, right?
Thank you.
Is he good or bad? Good. Is he a good reporter or bad?
So.
Not all right, looks like a nice guy. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan is stepping up. What kind of support do you expect from Japan in the future?
Look, I expect Japan to step up because, we have that kind of relationship. And we step up for Japan. We have 45,000 soldiers in Japan. We spend a lot of money on Japan. And we've had that kind of relationship. So I expect, I'm not surprised that they would step up. we don't need much. We don't need anything. I mean, honestly, we don't need anything from Japan or from anyone else, but I think it's appropriate that people step up. In the case of Japan, I hear they get more than 90% of their oil through the strait. So that's a big reason to step up. I mean, we've demolished, that country is close to demolished. The only thing is the strait. It's very hard. You could take two people and they could drop little bombs in the water and they're holding things up. We don't want that to happen. But honestly, Japan, China, Europe, parts of Europe, get a lot of their oil through the strait. We get none, practically. We're less than 1%. We don't have to be any percent. We don't even, I think we do it just to be nice. But we, think of it, we don't use the strait. We're defending the strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. You know, UK wants to send aircraft carriers now. And I said, I want the aircraft carriers before the war. I don't want them after the war is won. They want to send me aircraft carriers after the war is. There's practically nobody to shoot at them. You know, their missile count is down, Pete. Maybe you could discuss it. By about 90-something%. The drones are way down, and the factories are being demolished. Maybe.
Yes, sir. Our missiles being shot are down over 90% since the beginning. One-way attack drones down 90% since the beginning, which is a reflection of overwhelming firepower. But you mentioned the most important part, Mr. President. Their defense industrial base. If you can't make more of it in the future, then you have a limited supply. And so we're going after all of their defense contractors that make all of their exquisite weapons and ensuring that even if they wanted to rebuild more launchers or more missiles, they couldn't in the future. And that's a level of devastation for their military that they've never seen before.
So we have, in literally 2 weeks, we've demolished their Navy, their Air Force. All technology is gone. All communication is gone. And all of the leaders are gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well. Okay, how about one more question for the Prime Minister? Let me pick a beautiful-looking person from Japan. A question for the Prime Minister. Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Oh, he doesn't believe he's beautiful. Oh. He's sounding shy. Go ahead, please.
Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends, but one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. Now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us, and we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? Okay, one more for the Prime Minister. Are you going to for the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Go ahead for the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Japan's TG Press. Japan's biggest concern is China. Now they are giving us export control and very harsh terms to criticize us. So will you plan to bring out relationship between Japan and China while you are there?
Well, I'll be going to China very quickly, but I think I'd really like to have the Prime Minister talk about China because I know they have a little bit of an edgy relationship, and I'd just like to know where it stands, how you're doing with China. So, please.
で日本はいつも中国に対してオープンです。会話はオープンにしています。それから冷静に対応しています。でとにかく米中関係も含めてですね、 これが地域の安定、それから世界のサプライチェーン、これに貢献するものであることを願っています。日本は常にオープンです。
So first of all, Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China. And also, second, we have been addressing our relations with China in a calm manner. And also speaking of the U.S.-China relationship, my sincere hope is that the relationship will be something conducive for regional security and also ensuring the global supply chain in the world. Once again, I would like to reiterate that Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China.
And I think we're going to have a great trip. The trip has been postponed for about a month and a half. It's been reset, and we look forward to it. And I'll be speaking Japan's praises when I'm in China with President Xi. But we're going to have some good talks today. And I think mostly about trade, because they want to do a lot of trade. They're a tremendous purchaser of our energy, our oil, gas from, in particular, Alaska. Because Alaska, believe it or not, is very close. It's much closer than any other source. It seems a little cold compared to, but it's just a short trip.
So that's something that we will talk after this war, at least.
We'll be discussing trade, and a lot of the talk will be about energy. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, so the president meeting with Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi of Japan in the Oval Office as the two leaders took questions from the press. You heard there that the president's trip to China will be postponed later into the spring. This, as today is day 3 of debate on the Save America Act on that Senate floor. So we'll see how that goes. Meantime, you can join us tonight at 6:30 as President Trump participates in a dinner with the Prime Minister of Japan in the state dining room of the White House. Again, that's at 6:30 tonight. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate as we continue to grow and expand here at Right Side. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell, of course, running for governor in Minnesota, also has this great company and others out there. mypillow.com/RSBN. It's the Mega Sale 2.0 plus free shipping. Use that RSBN promo code to save some dollars on some quality products. mypillow.com/RSBN. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again tonight.